would you reverse the cut in corporation tax?
But I'm telling you, Andrew, that our priority is
you're
not...
not telling me the question.
I am.
The
I'm
answer.
saying this is what Jeremy was talking about in Prime Minister's question today. You've given away money that actually, quite frankly, we need to spend. And it's not just about an ageing population. That is phony. I think that at the moment, cutting at a time where we need those services and people need those services is the wrong decision to
But
make.
I'm asking...
In the next 10 minutes, you'll witness the unraveling of Labour's economic promises. We'll dissect Rachel Reeves's attempts to defend a $22 billion fiscal black hole, expose the truth behind their pension pledges, and reveal how their policies could hurt businesses and families alike. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favour. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. But that's not all. Stay till the end to hear our analysis on what this means for Labour's future and your finances. This is one political exposé you can't afford to miss. Rachel Reeves's claim of uncovering a $22 billion fiscal black hole has raised eyebrows across the political spectrum. But who's really in the dark here? Labour's initial economic promises painted a rosy picture of support for working families and financial stability. They pledged to ease the cost of living crisis and protect the most vulnerable. Yet this sudden discovery of a massive deficit has thrown these commitments into question. The contrast between Labour's pre-election rhetoric and post-election reality is stark. Reeves, now Chancellor, seems caught off guard by the state of public finances. But should she be?
Services and
So
home
can I
care
bring you back to
services.
my question? What would Labour do?
Well, we've already talked about, some of the taxation decisions that the government have made around inheritance tax, capital gains tax, corporation tax, where you've given away money. Okay. I think that the cuts on corporation tax are missing the point because we need that money. We need that money at the moment. I think that at the moment, cutting at a time where we need those services and people need those services is the wrong decision to make.
But I'm asking...
The Institute for Fiscal Studies had been sounding alarm bells about the tight fiscal position Labour would inherit long before the election. Paul Johnson of the IFS didn't mince words, stating that the state of public finances was apparent pre-election to anyone who cared to look. During her interview with Andrew Neil, Reeves struggled to explain this apparent oversight. Her attempts to justify the discovery fell flat as Neil pressed her on the implications of Labour's proposed policies. In a particularly revealing moment, Reeves admitted that the costs associated with the national insurance rise would ultimately be borne by workers in the form of lower wages and fewer jobs. This admission stands in direct opposition to Labour's pre-election promises to protect workers and boost the economy. So what does this miscalculation mean for Labour's economic credibility? The implications are far-reaching. It raises serious questions about their ability to manage the economy effectively and fulfill their promises to the electorate. The timing of the announcement has also been criticised as a strategic move to justify upcoming hard-hitting economic policies, further complicating Labour's narrative. This fiscal black hole is already shaping Labour's new tax policies. The party that once promised to ease the burden on working families now finds itself forced to consider measures that could hit those same families the hardest. The national insurance hike is just the beginning, with more potentially unpopular decisions on the horizon. But the fiscal hole isn't the only gap in Labour's promises. As we'll see, their commitments to protect pensioners and support businesses are also under scrutiny. The question remains, can Labour bridge these gaps, or will their economic credibility continue to erode? As Labour's economic credibility hangs by a thread, the real story lies in the promises they've already broken.
This is what Jeremy was talking about in Prime Minister's question today. You've given away money that actually, quite frankly, we need to spend, and it's not just about an ageing population. That is phony.
Would you reverse it?
Hold on. Inheritance tax.
Would you reverse them?
Excuse me. And putting the money in the primary care
Would you
services.
reverse the cuts on corporation tax?
Remember when they vowed to ease the cost of living crisis? Fast forward to today, and working families are feeling a very different kind of squeeze. How did Labour's grand plans to protect workers and pensioners turn into policies that might leave them worse off? Labour's commitment to protect workers and pensioners was once a cornerstone of their platform. They promise to be the party of the people, fighting for fair wages and secure retirements. But their recent actions tell a different tale. The national insurance hike, projected to raise an additional $25 billion, has become a millstone around the necks of businesses and workers alike. Let's break down what this means for the average person. For businesses employing minimum wage workers, this translates to an extra $800 per employee. It's not hard to see how this could put a damper on hiring and wage increases. The result? Workers' take-home pay takes a hit, directly contradicting Labour's promise to ease financial burdens. But it's not just workers feeling the pinch. Pensioners, long considered a protected class under Labour's watch, are now facing their own set of challenges. The decision to cut winter fuel payments has raised serious concerns, especially during a winter marked by sky-high energy costs. Critics argue that this move undermines Labour's promise to support the most vulnerable, leaving many elderly citizens to choose between heating and eating. Rachel Reeves's attempts to justify these cuts have fallen flat. Her claim that pensioners would be better off due to the triple lock on pensions was met with widespread skepticism. Many felt the math simply didn't add up, and it certainly didn't address the immediate financial strain on pensioners. So, how are these policies affecting Labour's core supporters? The answer is clear in the polls. Public trust in Labour's economic management is plummeting. Voters are expressing deep dissatisfaction with the party's handling of the cost of living crisis and its failure to deliver on promises.
The cuts in corporation tax, the cuts in inheritance tax, the cuts in capital gains tax, people know about the ageing population for some time. We've cut the criteria so people can't get community care. We treat our older people at the moment like dogs. It's a disgrace. We shouldn't do that.
But would you reverse the cut in corporation tax?
But I'm telling you, Andrew, that our priority is
Well, you're not telling me the question.
I'm saying.
This growing disillusionment reflects a broader sense of betrayal among those who once saw Labour as their champions. The public's patience with Labour is wearing thin. Many view their recent policy decisions as a stark departure from the party's foundational principles of supporting working-class families. As trust continues to erode, one has to wonder, what's next for Labour and the working class they claim to represent? Can they bridge this widening gap, or is this the beginning of a permanent rift between Labour and its traditional base? Labour's economic strategies have left a trail of broken promises and financial burdens. The $22 billion fiscal black hole, coupled with the national insurance hike, has put immense pressure on businesses and workers alike. Pensioners, once considered Labour's protected class, now face cuts to winter fuel allowances. These decisions have eroded public trust and raised questions about Labour's commitment to its core values. Can Labour rebuild its relationship with the working class, or has the damage already been done? The party finds itself at a crossroads, torn between fiscal responsibility and its traditional support base. As voters grapple with rising costs and unfulfilled promises, the need for political accountability has never been greater. It's time for transparency in economic policymaking. The public deserves clear explanations and honest assessments of the challenges ahead. Without this, Labour risks further alienating its supporters and losing its identity as the champion of working families. The coming months will be crucial in determining whether Labour can bridge the growing divide between its policies and its principles.